Yo, what it do, 2K fans? This your boy JuKING the Boss, and I'm back at it with another video. This one we got a lot to cover. We're gonna go over the NBA 2K19 wish list that I put together and all the details behind it. Now, before diving into the video, I did not cover my team at all because the simple fact is I don't play my team, so I don't want to sit up here and throw out information that I don't know too much about. But based on what I'm hearing here and there, my team could use a little bit of help when it comes down to the pack odds, and it could use some help when it comes down to the VC, because the VC is required across all game modes, so it made it like a rare commodity that you needed. And when you play all these game modes, it could hurt you because now you're looking and saying, okay, well, I want to play some of my team, but I don't want to waste my VC, and I got other players I want to build, this, that, and the other. So it's one of those things where my team could use some help in that aspect. Now, outside the rules of basketball, I want to see them get creative with every other aspect of the game. So let's first dive into the presentation. All right, so there are 2 points to touch up on when it comes down to presentation. First is dynamic commentary. Now, the only way I can enjoy the game playing 4 quarters is with the commentary off and just kind of like relying on crowd reaction. And that's where it really needs to be improved at. So the 2K has a track record of having the worst overused and recycled dialogue in history. After playing a few games, you just get tired of hearing it. So you turn the volume off or you put your music on and things like that. And I just kind of like to engage the crowd. So let's talk about a more dynamic crowd. Now, I'm not looking at saying you need 20,000 unique fans in the audience. No, you just need improved reactions to the action on the floor. Now, if the Wizards are playing the Warriors at home and they're down by 2, the crowd is going to go crazy if Bill knocks down a 3 that gives them the lead and it's a couple minutes left in the game. Or Wall takes Curry to the paint and tie the game and it's a couple minutes left in the game. Like in 2K, the only time the crowd goes crazy is in the last 60 seconds of a close game. Like, they don't go crazy at any other point in time and things like that. So I really feel as though they need to kind of rebalance that and retweak that, because instead we end up getting the same reactions whether you're playing the Warriors or whether you're playing the Phoenix Suns, and that's just not that on any scale. That's not realistic at all. So the best in-game crowds are FIFA and NCAA football 14. Like, you felt that you were playing in a college atmosphere in NCAA 14, and FIFA crowds are always just crazy when it comes down to how exciting they are when it comes down to the game of soccer or football, you know, for my friends across the water. So I would love to see 2K make some changes to this crowd and make it more dynamic and make it feel like these moments will matter on the floor, not just in my career, but in every game mode. That's a small change, or it could be a big change depending on which way it's got to be done. If they got to restart, or if they got to, you know, if they can just make the tweaks to make it look a little better and give it a better presentation. Other than that, every year they make improvements to the presentation, so I'll give them credit where credit is due. After a while, it gets tiring because it's repetitive, but what can you expect? It's a video game. You don't want it taken up forever in a day of space, and you would rather them spend time creating good content for the game as opposed to just making the presentation stand out above everything else. All right, so now we're gonna talk about gameplay, AI, mechanics, and back end. So when it comes down to the first aspect I want y'all to understand is that this is a video game through and through, but there's still some simulation that you want to come from the game of basketball. So let's talk about revamping the ball physics. The ball physics need to be independent of the player itself, so that way certain calls and responses can be properly driven. So if a player bumps into you with the ball in his hand and he bumps into you with the ball hand, then that should more so lead to drop ball, bump steal, this, that, and the other. That's what everybody's calling it. But instead, they'll bump into you sprinting at full speed and you'll watch the ball sit on the string like a yo-yo. I would love to see that get eliminated, so that needs to be revamped. I know that's gonna take some work, take some time, because you gotta kind of go in and cut those animations together again and then remove some of that that safety net, like the like the sidelines, they're out of bounds. I love the way that the 2K League's play mode had took that away to a point where you wasn't protected by some invisible field from going out of bounds as heavy as you was and if you played a Pro-Am game, or if you played in a park, or even in an NBA game. So I want to see more of that occur, that penalizes you for bad positioning and bad setup when it comes down to the physics of the ball and the physics of the court itself. Now, another thing is better dynamic control. I got tired of seeing people set the take charge animation when you come past half court. If I'm walking down the court with the ball in my hand and you go to take a charge, I should not get pulled into you with the canned animation. That's a player being rewarded for taking advantage of a canned animation when they should be rewarded for proper positioning, for taking the charge and things like that. It creates better ball players, and it creates people ability to play the game at another level, a more elite level, because now they're having fun and they're being rewarded where they should be, penalized where they should be. Another thing is revamping the AI system. Now, the computer would literally cost you the game because they play bad team ball. The game will try to automatically force matchup changes where not needed, just because the AI teammate just because of it, the AI teammate is going to lose you the game or lose you the possession. So instead of me having to rotate, if I'm playing center, instead of y'all having me rotate to Steph Curry, who's all the way out in the corner because the shooting guard set a screen and that got him open, that should be the 2 guard and the point guard having to switch matchups. But that's not the way the game dictates it. Instead, they make you, the player, go all the way out there to check the man, leaving your man open, and then the other guy, he goes to go check his man, and nobody's checking your man. So when your man score, you get defensive breakdown, you gave up 2 points, you giving up too much easy stuff. And so I would love to see them revamp the AI and create a smarter and more intelligent AI that feels like it advances based on the way you play the game. Another thing is more advanced control scheme. Now, basic control scheme for beginners, but a more robust system for those who like to compete and control the animations that are being called. So like right now, you can use left trigger or L2 on PS4 to pull off dribble moves. Or you can use the right stick to choose which ones that you pull off and give you more control over it. Now, last year they allowed you to do the same thing with steals, allowing you to swipe with the right stick to choose which direction you swipe at. And I would love to see that return. I literally thought that this year that would not only come back, but you would get more control over the kind of blocks you go up and things like that. So there's a way to kind of make it more advanced instead of having you just go for a basic block by pressing Y. They do have it set up so if you hold left trigger and you press Y, you go for a vertical block. If you're pressing right trigger when you press Y, you go for a more aggressive block. But there are better ways to do it. So like, say for instance, if you tap Y, you get a light jump block. So like, you basically contest a shot without risking giving up a foul. If you hold Y a little longer while while holding left trigger or holding right trigger, you go for a little bit better block. But in that instance, you'll need to be in the right position to decrease the chances of you getting called a foul. And if you hold Y, you get a more aggressive attempt at a block. So basically, the amount of time you hold Y controls the amount of your vertical, as opposed to just registering as, oh, he's attempting to put his hand up to block the ball. So having that kind of level of control will make it a whole lot better. The same way that goes for the passes and things like that. Now, they do have the basic pass, they do have the bounce pass, and they do have the overhead pass, but sometimes I feel they need to tweak the way the basic pass work for the simplistic control scheme, because I've gotten used to starting to use the bounce pass a lot more and trying to use the overhead pass a lot more. But there's another way that they need to focus on how they fix the way that you pass the ball. Now, another thing is counter animations. Counter animations need a whole lot of work. I know a lot of this seems to be running together, but just break it down piece by piece. Now, when it comes down to counter animations, I think that they do a big problem with when the animation calls. So the responsiveness of the controller goes into a consideration. When I play wired, I get a heck of a lot better animation counter, as opposed to when I play wireless, the responsiveness of the controller. But at the same time, there have been instances where I'm playing wired and I get a really laggy display of the counter animation that I call for. I would love to see some improvements occur there. All in all, the counter animations work, they just need a little bit of tweaking. Okay, now last thing, when it comes down to the back end itself, 2KU needs to either be deleted or fixed, really fixed, because 2KU, you can either do a scrimmage, you can practice plays, you can freestyle, or you can take the classes. Okay, and their idea of 2KU's situation is you got 3 levels. You got basic level of knowledge, intermediate level of knowledge, and advanced level of knowledge, and depending on which one you choose will depend on what they tell you when they tell you. But you get 10 minutes of a game to literally try to put yourself in every situation to learn something or learn how to do something. But I believe that if they changed that and gave it a drills-like setup, I will say, go as far as to say even like Live's drills-like setup, where you can work on what you want to work on and learn to master. So if you want to work on your dunks, it's something basic, but if you want to work on your dunks, you can choose whether you're working on basic dunks, flashy dunks, your preferred hand dunks or your dominant hand dunks, and situational dunks, and then setting up situations for you to utilize the knowledge that you learn until you're getting better at it. That would make better players. That'll give people a reason to say, oh, I need to take a step into 2KU and learn how they're doing this or how to do that. Another thing is with the passing. If you got passing setups, or when to best times to attempt to steal and cut down on creating fouls and everything like that, when's the best time to attempt to steal? These are good drills that could help. What's the best way to position yourself for a block, or how to work on the post, things like that. Drill setups that make better players play the game, that make players who just picked up the game for the first time, give them a chance to say, hey, look, you can get better if you just go to the university, learn a little bit of this, learn a little bit of that. This is what you need to work on. I would love to see that. So those are just the simple gameplay and AI and mechanics and the back end stuff that I really feel needs an overhaul. So let's take a step into my career factor. This is where it's gonna get really good. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. First of all, we all want the skippable cutscenes, so I'm just gonna drop that out there. Bam. Now let's move on to the real meat and potatoes of my career. More decisions, less ads, and the proper tie-ins. Now, first of all, let's talk about an extra season story. Now, I know a lot of people want this, and I know 2K really don't want to give us this, because the simple fact is that they create the game for a 1-year development cycle, and they expect you to only play 1 season and kick in all the multiplayer, when the multiplayer kind of sucks a little bit, for real, to a certain extent. I only go to the park to create content, have some fun with it when I'm creating content, work on new jump shots and things like that. Now, I would love to see a little bit beyond the first year. Now, I don't mean a detailed story where he goes through trials and tribulations and things like that, but just something simple. So like every year after that, you now have to set goals for yourself, and these goals that you set for yourself lead you to bigger VC payouts and things like that. And we're going to talk about the VC and my career VC in a second, but I would love to see them just do a little bit more when it comes down to past year 1. So now I have a reason to go past the first year, to go past the second year, because I'm setting new goals for myself with each season. Now, another thing is I would love for them to bring back the college career to in a bigger fashion. Now, maybe they don't use legit college teams, but I would love to see you have the ability to participate in 1 or 2 seasons of generic college basketball, not 5 games. Give us the option of playing either 5, 10, or 20 games with the tournament as well. Allow for the improvements of your draft stock and overall before entering the league. Another way to add to that college stat line is the street ball legend. Now this one gets a little bit tricky, because basically throughout your college career, and even when you're in the pros, you'll have a calendar of things coming up and what you got to do that week, this, that, and the other. So throughout the course of your career, you'll have NBA games, Now, when you're in the NBA, you'll just be playing NBA games, going to practice, this, that, and the other. But when you're in college, you'll have the ability to not only play in the college, but play in some street ball tournaments. And these tournaments can be played with or without friends, and allowing you to further enhance your skills and even unlocking new moves. Instead of just having to buy moves, let's say that you want to learn AI's famous crossover. Okay, well, now you're still spending VC, but instead adding a little more creativity to it, so that way the player feels a little more immersed, because we're talking about the my career aspect of it, the solo dolo aspect, and we're going to show you how to tie it all in to a point where you can give people some creative freedom, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But with the street ball, you can basically have some small tournaments that a person can play by themselves, or with computer teammates, or they can play with their friends. And it doesn't, now if a friend of mine is playing in a little tournament during his college one, and he invites me, say, bruh, you mind helping me run through these tournaments? That's no problem. I can do that without it affecting where I'm at in my career, but I can, at the same time, I can earn VC, I can earn levels. It gives me a way of playing with my friends without having to us be synced up on the same kind of setup or the same length in our careers. Now, another thing is that let's make sure you realize that these games don't need to be mandatory for you to advance in your career. Like, if you want to sim through the entire college and just go to NBA, all right, bet. But by doing this, you give people a chance to increase their opportunities, increase their stock, and increase their overall before entering the NBA, especially if for those players who literally just like to enjoy the solo my career aspect. But at the same time, you're gonna have people that are gonna play through the college season at least once. Some of them will continue to play through it when they create new builds, just because they love the aspect of being able to be a college standout or whatever, and go on to the pros at the position that they go in. Now, another thing is that I would love to see the circuit. Now, the circuit is the first tie-in that we're going to talk about. Now, you got the ProAm circuit and you got the park circuit. So in the off season, instead of simulating the off season and going into the next season, let's throw some street tournaments in, some ProAm tournaments in. You can run with friends. Makes for a more dynamic atmosphere, and makes the user feel like their friends are part of their my career story, without actually being in their my career story. Now, just a quick side note on that, I wouldn't mind seeing the ability to be able to maybe select 10 or 15 friends or something like that, even 5 friends, that their avatars will appear in your story, and their avatars will level up based on how they are leveling their avatars up in reality, because that would be pretty cool. I wouldn't want to see a cooperative my career, only because you got people who will stop playing the game after a few months, or situation might change and they might not be able to play no more. So now you got this additional player who doesn't progress, who doesn't level up and everything like that. But the ability to just kind of like have them have an avatar represented in your my career, like Forza does with the auto drivers. How based on the way I play Forza, I might show up in one of my friends' games or races, and my man will drive the way that I drive. So if I'm a reckless driver, be trying to take people out because that's the way I like to win, then that's the way my game will play. So I would like to see little things like that. Now, here's one of the biggest things that my career needs: realistic contract negotiations and bonuses. Now, I did some math. If an NBA player, okay, had the contract that you have on 2K, they would need a second job at a burger joint just to help keep the lights on in their apartment. They wouldn't have a house, you know, you're not having a fancy car and things like that. You are living in an apartment. Now, maybe with the extra, you know, money that you make from endorsements and things like that, you might can afford something nice. But at the end of the day, you are not making anything off that base salary. So I did the math, and I took the 5,000 VC marker as the be all end all, because if I spend $2 on 5,000 VC over time, I spend more money buying $450,000 in VC using the $5,000 cards, 5,000 VC cards, as opposed to buying the 450,000 VC for $100. So by doing that math, even at that level, let's say you make an average of 1,000 VC a game in the course of an 82 game season. We're not looking at it, oh, you're gonna make the postseason and everything like that. We're looking at the 82 game season. You making 1,000 VC a game. That literally averages out to you making 40 cents a game in the real world, okay? Because it takes about $34 to get 85,000 VC, which is more than enough that you would make on the season. So essentially you're gonna make roughly around 40 cents a game. Now, if you take out the fact that part of what you get, what you make a game is based on bonuses and performance grade, let's look at just the base salary of the 500 that you start off with. That literally means that you're making 20 cents a game for each game that you play. Ain't nobody living off that 20 cents. Nobody. So I would love to see them make some changes there when it comes down to it. When I say better realistic contract negotiations and bonuses, your agent really is screwing you over at the end of the day. So I would love to see them add playoff bonuses. And I'm not talking about, oh, Nike gave you a bonus for making the playoffs or winning a championship. No, I mean team-based playoff bonuses, signing bonuses, and off-season participation bonuses. These are bonuses that exist in the real world of basketball. Now, mind you, like I said, I understand that it's a video game, but when it comes down to certain aspects of the game that can be simulated in the game to match their real-life counterpart, this is one of them. Those added bonuses make people want to continue playing my career and continue to thrive in my career. Now, I understand that 2K got to get their little money. Take-Two is not playing no games. They need their money. But you're going to have your sharks that are going to invest and buy VC anyway, creating multiple players. But if you don't set it up to a point where people feel like they can earn and burn and thrive in this community, then they're not going to invest. And that's what you need them to do. Now, next thing is a customizable story for the player. Now, when I say that, I don't mean like, you know, customizing every aspect of it, but the back end stuff of the game itself, the game mode itself. So seeing that as my career is a solo experience, your NBA journey and your multiplayer journey are two different journeys. Let's say that you are allowed to go in and choose the length of season, customize your injury levels, customize the style of play, and even engage with the characters that you meet to feel more immersed. You know, these are small things that essentially can make big gameplay moments. Speaking of big gameplay moments, please bring back in-game clutch moments. Everybody remember NBA 2K11? You had the big game moments and things like that. Like you can literally sim to your next key moment, and you might be called to pull off to win the game for your team, and this, that, and the other. So even if you don't allow a person to sim to next key moment, take those key moments and look at them and reward players for them. You know, I know that people get rewarded for making the game winner, you know, and everything like that, but you don't get rewarded for tying the game and sending it to overtime. You don't get rewarded for the game saving block or the game saving rebound or the game saving foul that put a person to the line and then they miss one. You don't get rewarded for those. And allow the off-ball intentional fouls. I'm not gonna, like, if I'm playing against the Warriors, I'm not trying to foul Steph Curry, not to send him to the line. I'm gonna take my chance of trying to foul what's my man name? Y'all know who I'm talking about, big man. Yeah, we just gonna skip that part altogether. But when it boils down to it, matter of fact, give you a better example, because y'all probably laughed at that one. I'm not gonna foul Kobe and put him on the line. I'm gonna take my chance and foul Shaq. I'm gonna take my chance and foul Dwight Howard. Cats that have a better chance at missing at the line than Kobe, then Jordan, then Steph, then KD, then LeBron sometimes. So it just boils down to, you need the proper moments and give me the proper rewards for those moments and the way to set those moments up. And then I'm gonna just touch up a little bit on the dual archetype system. Now, the dual archetype system is a good job out the gate. We need improvements on it to an extent where people can be satisfied across the board. And what I mean by that is very simple. Instead of having just a dual archetype system, your dual archetype system is your primary and secondary biggest key attributes still allow me to advance those other attributes past their point of no return, or at least give me a system that allows me to be a consistent something and continue to work harder to get this up. So if I'm a top-notch shooter but my defense isn't that good, then I feel as though I should be rewarded more for playing great defense, or if as I'm getting better on defense, it just takes longer for me to get better on defense. I'm hoping y'all understood what I mean by that. So if I'm not the best defensive player and I work on my defense and everything like that, let's say it takes more to upgrade my defense. And I don't mean more VC to upgrade my defense. I mean more reps, more in-game activities to upgrade my defense and take that up the next level than it does for me to upgrade my shooting, because I'm a top-notch shooter. So there are ways I would love to see the dual archetype system ultimately evolve into a dynamic archetype system. I mentioned that last year. I would love to see a more dynamic archetype system that just bases on the way you play. That's how your man levels up. That's how your man gets better and everything like that. So ultimately, you can become a demigod, but it's going to take work, because you're going to have to be able to not only get better at all these other aspects, but stay consistent at the ones that you are great at. So I would love to see that occur. And those are just a few of the many changes I would love to see occur in my career. All right, so now let's talk about some special modes, adding a little flavor to the neighborhood. So first thing I want to talk about is the playground. Let's go with hosting some real tournaments at the park. So by hosting real tournaments, you can engage the community. You'll have multiple winners due to the fact that you got multiple instances of the park, but it gives you opportunity to boost the player count at specific times. And a lot of things you see in the news of games, you hear a lot of the communities talking about how, oh, there's so many concurrent players and this, that, and the other. It'd be good to see 2K get that kind of positive notoriety. Another thing is that you can hold a major tournament at the end of the year to crown like your ultimate park champion and everything like that. So that'd be pretty cool. Another thing is the ProAm circuit. Now, I talked about the ProAm circuit when it comes down to my career, but in this ProAm circuit, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to have in-game tournaments. So I believe that they should go with some in-game tournaments that can tie in technically with your 2K league, because what happens is it would allow players who don't spend time streaming, even though streaming has become readily available to so many different aspects. Not everybody has an internet connection to stream. Some people have to go with trying to record their content and get it uploaded, and you know that don't always work for them. But when it boils down to it, you can get people to kind of like just have some good stats, more detailed stat tracking and things like that. So that way, if you want to draft this person on your team next season and everything like that, you can see their stats and then try to find them on social media and try to find them in the public eye and see what kind of character this person is in reality. But it basically gives people a leg up to kind of like just everybody has that same even playing field when it comes down to showing what they can do at their position and how well they play at their position and get good over time. In-game tournaments can also lead to some big success for the Pro-Am community as well, because what it does is it gets people in the door, and it gets them in the door heavy. The Pro-Am has gotten bigger and bigger every single year. To me, this is the next step for it. It has to go in this direction in order to continue being successful, because if it stays stagnant and copies the same thing it did this year, I'm not saying 2K's Pro-Am is gonna die off, because it won't. But what's gonna happen is that you're gonna get more complaints about how Pro-Am didn't add nothing to it, and it just feels like the same repetitive, tired game mode, just like everything else. Now, one of the biggest things, first of all, before we get into the biggest special mode, let me just, one-on-one needs to be more rewarding. Not just ante up one-on-one, but the one-on-one. Sometimes you got the streamers who want to, you know, play one-on-one with the people that follow them and everything like that. And it'd be good to kind of allow for that to happen without having to sit up here and invite people to your court in order for that to happen. Like being able to just go over there and just go and say, hey, one-on-one, game to 11, game to 21, whatever. That would be good. I understand that, you know, there's only one-on-one court in an instance, so you kind of trying to rush the games through, but there's no reward for them whatsoever. But if you got boost on, you waste boost going to that one-on-one because there's no kind of reward system for it. So I would love to see something get done about that. If it's not going to be deleted altogether, make it more rewarding, not just on ante up. Also, add 4v4 park games, or change the 2-on-2 to be like the do 3x, which means it's not make it take it. You know, it means that you're gonna have to play some defense at multiple points of the game, and it's not more along the lines of like, oh, you gotta hope that you can get a lucky steal and that the game doesn't kind of cheat you out of a good rebound because they finally missed a shot. I want to see more 2-on-2 games go down to the wire, be nail biter of a games, instead of a lot of people using the 2-on-2 as an opportunity to play 1-on-1, and things like that. It'd be good to see them make some changes there. Now, for the biggest change I would love to see, the biggest addition for special modes is house rules. Now, and I'm not going to talk about do 3x, and I'm not going to talk about ruffles, because to me those are just cash grabs for promoting soda and chips, and that's just not something I can go with. Now, let's say house rules needs to take it and first of all separate itself from your park record. So I don't want to see me go into house rules and then take an L and that counts as my park record. House rules should be something where it's all fun. We used to, when I used to play ball back in the day with my boys, we used to do all kinds of crazy things when it come down to the rule set. Change the scoring system, change the type of ways you can score. And house rules does that a little bit. Dunks worth 2, steals are worth a point, you know, blocks worth a point. You shoot from a specific spot on the court that's lit up, you know what I'm saying, that's worth an extra 2 points or whatever. That just makes the game short. Instead of just making the game shorter with these simplistic rules that aren't really that engaging, because put it to you like this, the steals that lead to an additional point, you literally find yourself playing against people that are just swiping. That's boring. Now, I'll give you some examples. Let me add some flavor. Throw slam ball style basketball in there. I know that might be a licensing issue there, but throw some slam ball style basketball in there where you can get some crazy dunks going, okay? Throw a rule set for extreme ankle breakers. Now, I'm gonna break this down for y'all. It's very simple in the concept of the extreme ankle break. I sound extremely hyped, extremely excited, because I am. In the extreme ankle breaker category, it pretty much sums it up like this. If you are a post-scoring rim protector, but you go to house rules and you play and they give you the extreme ankle breaker rule set, what it essentially do is that everybody that is playing that game will be boosted up when it comes down to their ball handling ability, so that way everybody can get ankles. It creates great content. House rules could literally be the spot where everybody goes. It could literally be the party spot, because I'm always looking to create good content. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But having house rules set up where we can do some crazy things there, youngin', that would be a beast and a half. And then another thing I would love to see, NBA street style basketball in house rules. Not at the park. Let the park be street basketball that's supposed to be kind of competitive with a little bit of a wild side. Let house rules just simply go off the chain, off the charts when it comes down to crazy creativity. Talking about the double oops where you jump 40 feet in the air and slam it down and break the backboard. Game mode is backboard breaker, you know. First person to hit a dunk so aggressive that it brings down the house. You know, I would love to see that. You know, that would give people a reason to go, and then you would be seeing people just showing up at the venue left and right, and it's like, man, people are there, people are in there, and they're in there heavy. It's like going to a hot party because you know the talent's gonna be fire. So these are just some of the things that I would love to see specifically added to the game itself. I got more that I can talk to y'all about, but I've already made this video longer than I wanted to, so I'm hoping you all stuck all the way through to the end. If you did enjoy, if you did agree or you disagree, hit the like or the dislike, share this video. Let's get this out to the community. Let's see if we can get them to make some changes. If not for 2K19, at least by the time 2K20 rolls around, let's make 2K the game to play every year, all year. And when it boils down to it, that's the kind of content I want to create, ones that make you want to play the game. So this your boy JuKING the Boss. I'm going to catch y'all guys on the next video. I'm out.